With the release of the Agile Manifesto 2 decades ago, there has been a constantly rising trend, where organizations have adopted Agile for their project management needs and have actually benefited greatly from the whole transition. But, this trend does not only change the job market but the desired skills a company would want in their future project managers, project leaders, etc. The effects are already seen in the new PMP exam changes, where the exam format shifted its course and now contains 50% of the questions based on Agile or hybrid project management approach. Hi, this is Ryan from Invensis Learning. I welcome you all to this session in which we will discuss the Agile approach to project management. We will start with what exactly is Agile project management, and then discuss various reasons why Agile could be better and what Agile is not. Moving further, we will discuss the Agile principles and core value given by the Agile Manifesto, and deep dive into Agile project management lifecycle. After discussing the Agile frameworks and various examples, we will discuss the various roles that are present in Agile project management. Finally, we will wrap up this session with an Agile project management demo and popular Agile terminologies. I hope you are clear with the agenda. Also, do not forget to subscribe to Invensis Learning, and press the bell icon to get the latest updates on Invensis Learning. Now, let's try to understand Agile project management. Initially adopted for effective software development, Agile project management has proved its mettle in various domains. The Agile approach focuses on iterative project management. By iterative, the processes and tasks in the project life cycle are repeated so that the project progress is adaptive in nature. Any unprecedented requirements during the project are accounted for, and the project delivery is efficient. Where the room for improvement is driven by iterative project management in the various project management phases. The need to make the whole process arrived from the limitations of the conventional waterfall model, where any changes in the project goals or any improvements required more time and cost a lot of money and resources. The main focus of Agile methodology is to deliver customer requirements in small increments and frequent delivery through cross-functional and self-organizing teams. The process enables regular customer feedback and corrective measures as needed. Agile overcome the challenges faced by the traditional waterfall approach, where each phase needs to be completed before moving on to the next, thereby reducing the project failure percentage. To understand how Agile works for a project, we must understand what sort of projects are suitable for Agile project management. Any medium-sized projects where the project deliverables can be broken down into smaller components and produced in an incremental setting. Although there cannot be any dependencies involved with each of the broken down deliverables so that none of the other tasks are affected in case of shortcomings or delays. Basically, if the requirements are dynamic in nature and can evolve during the project, can make the best of an Agile approach. Even though the Agile approach is suited best for software development where smaller deliverables are produced parallelly, there are some takeaways for every kind of project. It brings the whole team together during all the phases of project management. The communication gaps are reduced to a minimum, with efficient collaborative measures that Agile encourages. The time consumption is reviewed and iterations are reduced, benefiting the organization in terms of budgets and project delivery time. The collaborative effort embodies a sense of quality project development in all of the team members with much better results. The possibility of Agile project management methodology taking your project to glory is much higher and versatile in nature. Any kind of project can benefit from the Agile methodology principles and core values. But, before we deep dive into understanding what the principles enforce, let's understand why we need Agile in project management. Ever since the Agile Manifesto made its way to the project management universe, it has become a trend to adopt Agile methodologies or Agile approaches for their projects. The approach in which the whole work is divided into sprints, where the collaborative effort between the stakeholders and the customers works towards achieving the project goals, while embracing continuous improvement to deliver top-quality products. To understand how Agile has become the best choice among the project managers, let's understand how it differs from the conventional waterfall model. The problems with the waterfall model started with the limitations that were costing the organizations a lot of capital. The various limitations of the waterfall model include: the waterfall model does not work well for complex projects considerably larger in size. The slightest change in the requirements during the project puts the whole project in jeopardy. If at all, any changes are required, it is extremely difficult to move back to the previous phases. The improvements that may be required after the development is over cost too much to the project. The whole process costs the organization a lot of capital. The Agile approach to project management was able to outgrow the conventional setbacks that the waterfall approach was putting them into. The continuous improvement took care of unprecedented changes in the requirements, and even when the requirements are not clear in the beginning. The Agile framework takes care of every aspect of the project management lifecycle, so that the project deliverables are finished within the time limit. The collaborative effort between the stakeholders and the customers ensures continuous involvement in all of the phases in the project management lifecycle with full visibility of the progress of the project. Let's take a look at a few benefits of Agile project management. Focus on business value. Agile provides an increased focus on delivering business value by involving customers during the development process. Eliminates rework. The significant benefits of involving customers at all the phases of product development will help to remain in tune with the customer requirements. Doing so, you will have to spend less time on the customer suggestion revisions. Transparency. Another perk of implementing Agile methodology is, it provides an opportunity for the stakeholders/clients to get involved at every phase of the development process, like review sessions, iteration planning, and other such features. It provides customers an overview of the work in progress. Better control. Implementing Agile provides the project managers better control over the projects due to varied reasons like feedback integration, quality control features, and transparency. Easy change. Unlike the Waterfall model, Agile methodology allows for change. The product development process involves regular refinement and prioritizing the features of the product. The new features to be updated can be implemented for the next iteration within few weeks. Predictable delivery time. Agile allows delivering new features regularly and quickly. It provides a predictable time to release the software than planned. Enhanced customer satisfaction. Agile methodology keeps the customers in the loop and makes changes according to their feedback. Employees whose thoughts are valued at the workplace are more productive than being ordered to follow the rules. They are the ones who encounter the problems day to day at the workplace, respond to the challenges, and meet their goals. Now that we know what exactly is Agile project management, and how it can benefit our projects, it is extremely important to debunk a few myths about Agile so that we understand what Agile is not. The confusion around this can really hamper the efficiency of some projects. These are the most important myths about Agile project management that needs to be clarified. Agile requires no documentation. The misconceptions to say that Agile has no documentation is completely irrelevant. All the task boards, sprint backlogs are a part of Agile documentation, and needless to say, are completely relevant and indeed effective in Agile project management. The development never stops in Agile. The misconception that the development just never stops in an Agile environment is completely baseless. The concept like DoD or definition of done is pre-decided by the teams and can depend on the requirements. So, to say the development never stops is uncalled for. The definition of work being completed is just different from what we see in other project management approaches. Myths about daily stand-ups. The myths about daily stand-ups basically question its credibility. First of all, the short time frame within which a stand-up meeting functions makes sure three things primarily. What has been completed? What will be completed? And any significant shortcomings or roadblocks. To think that the stand-up meetings solve the project-related problems is childish, and discrediting its efficiency based on the myths is irrelevant. Myths about requirements. Another myth about Agile project management is that of the requirements of the project. Since Agile can work their project requirements along the way, but it does not mean that the requirements are not needed in Agile project management. The user stories contain the requirements that will be used for the project. Agile is fast and better. With so many uncountable benefits that Agile project management comes, it definitely does not negate the credibility of traditional project management. Nor does it make any project progress skyrocket in speed. The progress of the project will always depend on the kind of requirements and iterations that will take place. Sometimes, the project can take longer to finish as well. Agile lacks structure. Another myth about Agile is that it lacks structure. Which is not even a single bit legitimate thing to say about Agile. The most significant answer to this question is Scrum. We will learn about what is Scrum later in the session. Make sure you watch the whole video to understand everything there is to know about Agile project management. Disregard of quality in Agile. The misconception about the quality is completely opposite when it comes to Agile project management. In fact, Agile makes sure the quality is intact with iterations that provide continuous improvement to the project value. Myths about planning. To say that Agile lacks planning is equivalent to saying Cristiano Ronaldo plays tennis. Not relatable at all. The proof of extensive planning reflects in project plans, stand-up meetings, sprint planning, etc. Agile is new. Some people like to discredit Agile by saying how it is new in the market and lacks the various insights that can decide the credibility of the Agile approach. But, the Agile Manifesto was written in 2001, and since then many organizations have adopted Agile with significant results. Agile in projects with fixed deadlines. To say the least, Agile thrives on deadlines. A fixed deadline for a deliverable works absolutely in sync with the Agile project management approach. Now, let us take a look down the history lane and discuss the Agile Manifesto, with which came the core values and Agile principles that changed the face of project management in the current times. Agile Manifesto. The Agile Manifesto is a document that contains all the core values and principles that were drafted in 2001. The Agile Manifesto is the document that drives the Agile project management. On February 11, 2001, 17 developers and scientists met at the ski resort in Utah to discuss the ills in the software development industry. And the solution was a document, which even though is almost 2 decades old but still stands strong with the recent developments in the project management industry. Let's take a look at the findings of the Agile Manifesto and the various principles and core values that were included in the Agile Manifesto. Let's start with the 12 principles of Agile methodology. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. On many occasions while developing software, the main priority behind why the software is being developed is forgotten. So as an organization, how are you able to relate to this principle? As an enterprise, you can reduce the gap between requirements gathering and customer feedback by incorporating only a few changes at a time. This ensures that you have a better opportunity to provide a satisfactory product that meets the customer's requirements. Welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Previously we used to wait for ages to make changes. Agile prescribes you do not have to wait for the next system redesign to implement changes. You can shorten the time between understanding and implementing an important change. Moreover, do not get scared if you have to change something late in the development process, just go ahead and do it. Deliver working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter timescale. Previously in traditional project approaches, it was all about documentation under the pretense of completing the requirements. But, then at the end of the project, there was nothing to show but just documentation. Agile clearly focuses on reducing the distance between planning and deliverables. The focus is more on creating the software than just planning for it, which helps to improve the efficiency of project teams. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Agile is all about collaboration, where there are cross-functional teams working on a project to deliver the software to the customer that meets new market demands. This is a crucial process, and this does not come naturally for the enterprise workforce. One can also use communication tools to work along with remote workers who are at different locations. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Today, more and more project teams are being micromanaged, which is detrimental. Project teams should know their responsibilities and be self-reliant. Ensure you assemble a proper team that can get the job done. Give them a couple of sprints to come together and let them on their own with minimal supervision to achieve the project's objectives. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is the face-to-face conversation. Put simply, you want to shorten the time between a question and its answer. This is another reason why collocation or remote work during the same hours is key in Agile project management. When teams work together under the same virtual roof, it's much easier to ask questions, make suggestions, and communicate. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Working software is one of the crucial metrics for an Agile project development team. It doesn't depend on how much coding you have done, bugs you fixed, or the efforts you have put in. As a good project team, you should be able to show working software in the end. If you can do that, then all other metrics become irrelevant. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Project teams feel the major brunt of burnout when they work on a project for a very long time, and this is a common problem in enterprises across the globe. To avoid this, Agile suggests the work to be done in short sprints or iterations, as excessive work can be detrimental, which affects the overall quality of the project. Senior project members or Scrum Masters should first identify the right pace for team members to be more effective. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Development teams wait for an eternity to clean up their codes, which are either redundant or confusing. Coding should get better at each sprint, and teams can use Scrum tools to review their code to find the best possible solutions. When you clean up your codes during the project, it saves a lot of time for your project. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. As an enterprise, you have to keep things short and simple during a project. Be it project kickoff meetings, daily stand-ups, sprints, etc. can be kept short to achieve better efficiency. Avoid things that are mundane and keep track of your team by using the latest project management tools like Trello, Dashable, Basecamp, Envision, and more. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. Some of the best attributes of a good Agile team are a team that takes its own direction, where team members are not constantly reminded what needs to be done. A team that attacks problems and finds solutions. As a project manager or a Scrum Master, if you are micromanaging them, then that should be a straight red flag of serious problems in the team. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. The term looking over your shoulders holds true with Agile Project Management, where you inspect and adapt all along. You will always find resistance towards change. Just because you have done things in a certain fashion all these years does not mean that is the best way to do it. If there are better ways to move ahead in a project, the team should implement certain adjustments throughout the project lifecycle. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. In the early project management setting, more emphasis was placed on the processes and tools that will be used for the project. But the Agile value places its emphasis on individuals and the interactions between them. The collaborative effort between the individuals can really take the project to the next level. Any miscommunications that will develop over time in the conventional project management setting are eliminated with this one core value of Agile methodology. But it definitely does not disregard the importance of the tools and processes. The basic idea behind this is to make sure that the right set of tools and processes collaborate with the most relevant individuals. It ensures that the project will yield the most efficient results. Working software over comprehensive documentation. The next value places its importance on the working software instead of the comprehensive documentation. In the conventional project management setting, the developers focus more on the documentation, but the Agile methodology encourages providing the customers with working software, although documentation is equally important as well. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. The third core value, emphasis on customer collaboration rather than contract negotiation. In a conventional project management setting, the contracts decided the end product, which often led to contrasts between what the customer would eventually require. Agile project management focuses on continuous improvement, where customer collaboration plays a very significant role. Responding to change over following a plan. The last core value of Agile focuses on responding to change over following a plan. This basically means any changes in the project requirements will be put at higher priority even if the project plan requires changes along the way. In the conventional setting, changing a project plan would have been quite drastic in terms of efficiency. But, the Agile approach changed how project management works in the current dynamic and ever-changing project requirements. Now, that we have discussed the core values and principles, let us deep dive into the Agile Project Management Lifecycle. The Agile Project Management Lifecycle closely resembles the PMBOK phases in a sense where, except the continuous improvement part, every other phase focuses on the initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control phases. If you are having any difficulties recalling the project management lifecycle, you can check out the project management tutorial on the Invensis Learning YouTube channel. We have a comprehensive tutorial with everything that you need to know about project management. Coming back to the Agile project lifecycle. The first phase is called Envision. Envision. The Envision phase closely resembles the initiation phase of the project management lifecycle. This is the phase where the project requirements are identified. The product is conceptualized and the necessary stakeholders for the project are identified. Other than that, all the project objectives, goals are envisioned, and the project moves to the Speculate phase of the Agile project management lifecycle. Speculate. The Speculate phase resembles the project planning phase of the project management lifecycle. In this stage, the project timeline is constructed. The necessary features that would be required for the project are planned, and the whole process revolves around breaking down the project into important tasks. The whole project is broken down into crucial milestones, and the project timeline is set according to the progress. Depending on how crucial the tasks will be for the project, efficiency priorities are set so that the project does not get affected in case of shortcomings or setbacks. After this, the project moves towards the Explore phase of the Agile project management lifecycle. Explore. This stage resembles the execution phase of the project management lifecycle. In this phase, the teams are working continuously to fulfill the project requirements and deliver value to the customers. At the same time, the teams focus on continuous improvement by working parallelly with the next phase, i.e. the adapt phase, so that any changes that will be subject to improvement in the existing product can be easily implemented. And during this whole time, the quality is maintained by iterative development. Adapt. The next phase is the adapt phase. This is the phase where the constant changes to the project requirements are communicated by the customers after review and effective collaborative efforts. The adapt phase ensures adaptability and flexible structure to the Agile project management that embodies continuous improvement to the project deliverables. Close. The last phase is the close phase, which is again similar to the closing phase in the project management lifecycle. In this phase, the deliverables are reviewed and made sure the project requirements are fulfilled. Making sure that the improvements and the project requirements are in sync with the product, the deliverables are released and teams hold retrospective sessions to focus on the takeaways from the whole project cycle so that they can focus on the next projects with more agility. Now that we have discussed the Agile project management lifecycle, let us also discuss a few Agile project management frameworks. Agile is an approach that enforces the 12 principles and 4 core values that the Agile Manifesto represents. An Agile framework is basically a structured tool, process, or methodology that will enforce these principles and values in the project lifecycle. Scrum is more of a framework than a methodology. In this Agile framework, the total work is divided into smaller cycles known as sprints. Sprints are nothing but the time taken by a specific team to complete the assigned task. The end goal can be achieved during a usual sprint that lasts about 2 weeks, or the project managers can go for sprints that last for a week or a month as well, depending on the requirements or availability of resources. The Scrum framework follows the principle of continuous improvement, where there are a few components like Scrum cycle, sprint backlog, etc. The sprint cycle consists of Scrum ceremonies such as sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. When the work is divided into smaller cycles and each sprint is managed by Scrum Masters who take care of their respective sprints. The sprint planning is basically when the whole team sits down at a meeting and decides the work that needs to be done for each sprint. After the planning, the next ceremony is a daily Scrum meeting, which is basically how each and every update is given regarding the sprint so that a continuous improvement environment is always present. The goal of the daily Scrum is to get updates as to what kind of work was accomplished the day before and what sort of work is intended to be done on the current day. Moreover, the Scrum meeting also identifies any obstacles that may hinder the progress of the sprint. The sprint review, on the other hand, is the review of the final project or the final task finished during the sprint. Since the Scrum framework follows a continuous improvement process, the review is the stage where they inspect any shortcomings from the project. And sprint retrospective is when the team comes together to discuss the positive and negative of their actions during the sprints to identify the things that can benefit the upcoming projects as well. Next up, let's take a look at the Kanban methodology. Kanban is another project management methodology that runs on the Agile principle. With a constant goal for continuous improvement, the Kanban methodology focuses on transparency and visual representation of the progress of the project. Kanban methodology follows the principle of pulling the work from the predefined backlog on a continuous basis. The work is then arranged on a Kanban board in different stages where everyone can see the progress of the project or a particular task, with one of the advantages being a visual representation of the progress of each task. The other significant advantage of using Kanban methodology in project management is that they will give an exact representation of any shortcomings as well. The VIP limits or work in progress limits ensure the prevention of any potential bottlenecks where one can put a limit on a stage. Let's try to understand this with an example. In a conventional setting, an employee keeps getting 2 tasks a day and always ends up with more work in progress at the end of the week. No matter how hard the employee works, the work keeps piling up. Now the Kanban methodology takes care of this with a work in progress limit, where after a certain point, that employee won't be able to move any more work in the next stage unless he or she finishes other tasks. This methodology usually works the best for the projects where the visibility of the progress is important and the work can be usually divided into specific stages. Although, Kanban would not work for projects where the complexity of the project is high. By now, a lot of you must be thinking, why not combine the Scrum and Kanban? If both of them work perfectly fine for visibility and continuous improvement. To answer this question. Next up, we have Extreme Programming. Extreme Programming is an Agile project management methodology designed for software development. The teams follow certain rules based on the 5 principles that emphasize teamwork for self-organizing teams and collaboration among team members and stakeholders. The 5 principles of extreme programming include simplicity, communication, feedback, respect, courage. The teams can go for the extreme programming methodology for your project if you're looking for collaboration and teamwork. Unless there are elements in your team that may not follow the rules and the team cannot collaborate effectively, then the extreme programming methodology may not be the best choice for the project. Feature-driven development, as the name suggests, is an Agile framework that is driven by the features. The features can be the smallest tasks in the user stories, not necessarily a significant product feature. The feature-driven development lifecycle includes creating an overall model, build a feature list, plan by feature, design by feature, build by feature. The various advantages of using feature-driven development include rapid development and continuous development with a structured 5-step plan. Although, if you have smaller projects and complex dependencies, then feature-driven development may not be the best choice for you. Next up, we have a dynamic systems development method. Dynamic Systems Development Method, or DSDM, is an Agile approach that follows the philosophy where the project aligns perfectly with the clearly defined project objectives and focus on early delivery of the real benefits of the project. DSDM follows 8 principles. Clearly defined business goals. On-time delivery. Effective collaboration. Quality assurance. Build incrementally. Communicate continuously. Demonstrate control. Develop iteratively. If you use DSDM for your projects, you can be assured that the project delivery will be on time with strict deadlines, and you will find great flexibility in the evolution of requirements. Although, if the project cannot adhere to the strict principles of DSDM with utmost certainty, then DSDM would not be a suitable framework for your project. Scrumban is a hybrid Agile project management approach that follows a bit of both Scrum and Kanban's principles. The Scrumban uses the pull method from the Kanban methodology for getting the task from the backlog based on the capacity. So, here traditionally, the team would have decided on which sprint to start working on. And the Scrumban method also employs the VIP limits concept from the Kanban methodology, where the project flow remains constant without creating any bottlenecks in sprints. The constant sprint planning, review, and retrospective take care of continuous improvement, and visibility of progress across each stage is taken care of by the Kanban methodology. So, all in all, Scrumban methodology is the combination of both Kanban and Scrum methodology and uses the best of each of them. If your project requires continuous improvement and full visibility of the progress of work in all the stages, the Scrumban methodology is the best choice for your project. Unless you don't want to experience both worlds at the same time, then the Scrumban may not be the methodology for your project. Adapting to Agile methodology in your organization is a structured process. You have to make sure certain factors are fulfilled first in order to make the most of Agile methodology. To adopt Agile methodology in your organization, you can follow these steps. Is Agile for you? Before moving to the Agile methodology for your organization, you have to make sure you understand what Agile is. You have to understand how Agile works. And where can Agile benefit your organization? You have to analyze your project management needs for your projects. Sometimes the projects you have at your organization may not be suitable for the Agile approach. And adapting to Agile can backfire in terms of productivity and project delivery. Everyone on board? After figuring out the benefits of Agile and how it would help your organization, the next step is to get everyone on the same page. It is proven time and again that whenever there is any significant change to how any place functions, people resist the change and often cause many problems to the new methods. To make sure your organization does not suffer from any consequences from resistance to change, you can get everyone on board by getting them familiar with an Agile way of working. By explaining the benefits of Agile for your organization and for their self-development that they will gain from the Agile project management approach. Collaboration and effective communication will help the organization grow and benefit the professional growth of the team as well. List of projects. After getting everyone on board, you can begin to visualize your projects that need changes according to the Agile project management approach. Identifying each and every task that the organization is working on and then visualizing their progress using any visualization tools. After that, you'd need to envision a clear picture of how the project progress would evolve when you will use the Agile approach to that particular project or project. Sprints and project timeline. After the successful analysis of the projects that need to be adapted to Agile, you will break down the projects into sprints and start creating a project schedule for them. The structured schedule will ensure the timely delivery of the project with full efficiency and continuous improvements. Stand-up meetings. After making sure the project is divided into sprints, you can go ahead and hold collaborative meetings to get on track with each sprint's progress with the help of stand-up meetings. A small, short, and to-the-point stand-up meeting gives a clear picture of what has been accomplished, what is the next plan of action for the sprint, and if at all there are any significant roadblocks that need to be fixed. Evaluate. And finally, after you have successfully managed to finish the sprints and produce deliverables for the clients, you can move forward with the evaluation. Just to check whether all the project requirements have been fulfilled or not. Whether the improvements or any other requirements that were suggested by the customers have been implemented or not. The quality assurance of the deliverables before they are finally given to the customers, etc. So, now that we know how we can adopt Agile in an organization, let us also take a look at a few job roles and responsibilities that are associated with Agile Project Management. For a project manager role in an Agile Project Management job role, you will be required to fulfill the following responsibilities. Project planning, you will be creating the project timelines, work breakdown structure, and defining various milestones for the project including the sprint planning, etc. Creating the project budget, financial planning for all the project-related activities will be created by the project manager, and constant measures to oversee the project budget so that it doesn't go over budget. Status reporting, constantly measuring the progress of the project in an Agile setting ensures the quality assurance and fulfillment of all the project-related goals and objectives. Project governance, a very critical aspect of any project is governance. A project manager manages the project governance plans for accountability and for meeting certain standards. Resource allocation and management, assigning resources with relevant tasks and managing them. Stakeholder management, ensuring effective collaboration between stakeholders and the customers for constant continuous improvement for the project deliverables. Risk management for the project, identifying the risks associated with the projects, assessing them, and creating a response plan to deal with them or making contingency plans. Change management to ensure efficient project delivery, etc. The other job roles in an Agile project management setting include a product owner and a Scrum Master. Product owner. A product owner is responsible for the collaboration between the development teams and the various stakeholders that they represent. With a sound knowledge of all the requirements from the stakeholders' perspective, they are able to communicate the requirements to the development team. The customer feedback also accounts for the requirements that are communicated to the teams through the product owner. They are responsible for prioritizing the tasks based on the critical nature and their dependencies according to the feedback given by the stakeholders. The various responsibilities that a product owner is responsible for include Scrum backlogs management, stakeholders management, etc. Scrum Master. A Scrum Master is a team leader responsible for facilitating all the instructions given by the product owner to the respective teams. The various responsibilities include daily stand-ups and sprints, helping the product owners to create effective backlogs, encouraging Scrum framework with effective collaboration, continuous improvement with respect to the changes communicated by the product owners, managing the team members, etc. Now that we are familiar with the Agile job roles and responsibilities, let us take a look at a small demo where we will take a look at how we can create a sprint plan and a burndown chart using an Agile project management tool. The objective of the demo is to establish an understanding of two very common processes in any Agile project. One is sprint planning, and the other is a burndown chart. With this demo, we will understand what exactly is sprint planning and burndown chart, and focus on the implementation using a project management tool. In simple words, sprint planning is a part of the Scrum framework where the team discusses and chooses the items from the product backlog that they will work on in the next sprint. They basically focus on how they are going to finish the objective of that particular sprint. On the other hand, the burndown chart is quite interesting. A burndown chart basically tells us how much work has been left in a sprint and the remaining time to complete that work. Giving a constant insight into the progress of the sprint serves as a great tool to focus on the shortcomings for the upcoming sprints. The action plan for the demo would revolve around an Agile project management tool. Preferably the one that supports the Scrum methodology. After that, we will create a hypothetical project and create a product backlog for it. Moving forward, we will create a sprint plan. And finally, we will calculate the work progress using the burndown charts, and moreover discuss a few other concepts like velocity. Let's go ahead and understand this with a project management tool. First of all, we must choose a project management tool that supports the Scrum methodology. After choosing Asana for creating a sprint plan, We must know what all will be covered while creating a sprint plan. Asana comes up with a predefined template to create a sprint plan. It basically covers all the aspects like product backlog, prioritization, and other stages divided into segments where you can track the progress of the tasks. With Asana, you can create deadlines and assign resources accordingly. You can make subtasks and plan the sprints in the timeline view as well. The 4 different views that Asana offers: a Scrum board, a Kanban board, a timeline view, and a calendar view to track the progress of the work. You can easily move the tasks from the product backlog and to respective segments like a priority, in progress, etc. The easy access and visibility across all channels make it worthwhile and efficient for the whole sprint planning process. The best practices for any sprint planning include going over backlog items to maintain continuous improvement in the sprint all along, determining ownership of the tasks so that the work is not hampered at any cost, confirm team velocity and capacity to ensure the proper functioning of the teams during the sprint. After the successful sprint planning meeting, you can go ahead and start your sprint. Next up, we will understand how the Burndown Chart works and how we can evaluate the progress of the work with Burndown Charts. The Burndown Chart basically represents the amount of work the team is completing with plotting the user stories against time. The various benefits include determining the velocity and performance of the team using the Burndown Charts. The main components that make a Burndown Chart include total work, remaining tasks, estimated speed, actual speed. As an effective progress mapping tool, managers often use the Burndown Charts to keep their projects going off track. In Asana, you can create custom charts in the dashboard where you can fill custom entries in the x-axis and y-axis. Options like a priority, product stage, completion status, task status, etc., and cost and number of tasks in the y-axis. This sort of ease in creating charts can be really useful for assessing the progress of the tasks in the sprint. With this, we come to the end of the small demo where we have created a small sprint planning demo along with a brief introduction to Burndown Charts. Let's move ahead and learn about the various terminologies associated with Agile Project Management. Agile terminologies can be confusing sometimes. We have compiled a list of the most used Agile terminologies to get you started with Agile Project Management. Acceptance criteria. The acceptance criteria are the requirements that need to be fulfilled so that they can be accepted by the stakeholders or the customers. The credibility is determined by the product owners who enforce the quality with each feature. The acceptance criteria have to be clearly defined and communicated effectively. What is accepted and what is not accepted should be clear from the customers or stakeholders' point of view. Agile Release Train. The Agile Release Train is a combination of different Agile teams that work together for large enterprise-scale projects. A typical Agile Release Train consists of 50 to 100 members in a team. They work on different parts of the collective project effort. They work in iterations, and these iterations typically are 5 times longer than the normal iterations. Backlog. A backlog is nothing but a comprehensive list of requirements, tasks, bug fixes, etc. Before starting the new sprint, the backlog is analyzed by the product owners and they decide what tasks they want to take from the backlog to finish. After the end of the sprint, the backlog is constantly monitored and updated. Backlog refinement. Backlog refinement is nothing but the process of updating the sprint backlog based on the user requirements or improvements sent at the end of the sprint. Backlog refinement usually takes place after the end of the sprint, where the teams analyze the backlog and remove the unnecessary items and update the backlog with new user stories based on the feedback. Bottleneck. Bottlenecks are basically tasks or processes in the project that will slow down the whole project and eventually cause problems to efficiency and project delivery. A sprint task can go through several stages during development, and sometimes the task gets stuck, causing the whole sprint to come to a halt or a very slow pace. To avoid this, project managers often make use of Kanban boards to avoid bottlenecks. Burndown Chart. A Burndown Chart is basically how the teams and project managers can monitor the progress of the work that has been completed in the project. The main focus on the Burndown Chart is how much work has been completed and the total amount of work in the project. With visual representations, it becomes easier to manage and monitor the project's progress. Continuous integration. Continuous integration is the process of constantly updating the deliverables after several iterations. This practice is the most prominent part of Agile Frameworks. A team works on specific tasks, and after it is finished and reviewed, they are added to the main product. This practice allows the teams to work parallelly on several tasks at the same time while keeping the quality standards at their peak. Daily Scrum. A daily Scrum meeting is basically a short and precise meeting that involves the Scrum teams and the Scrum leader. Hosted by the Scrum Master, the daily Scrum has the following objectives. What has been completed? What will be completed further? Any setbacks, if any, that need to be handled? Gantt chart. The Gantt chart is a set of horizontal bar charts that represent the progress of the tasks along the project timeline. The chart has a specific start and end dates for the tasks, and they are aligned with the project timeline and deadlines. This basically helps the teams to monitor the progress of the project tasks. Lean. Lean is another project management methodology that follows the Lean principles to maximize the value and minimize waste. Based on the Toyota production system, the Lean methodology is now used to reduce the wasteful practices from other project management practices as well. The 3M principle includes Muda, Mura, and Muri. Muda refers to wastefulness that does not add any value to the customer. Mura refers to the overproduction that leads to wastefulness and uneven resource utilization. And Muri, on the other hand, refers to overburdening the resources. All in all, the Lean methodology follows the Lean principles that reduce the 3Ms to the minimum while maintaining the exact value for the customer that is required. Refactoring. The extreme programming concept refactoring is the process where Agile software development cleans up their code by using the following. Removing a redundant piece of code. Edit out unnecessary functions. And the result is the simpler code that could be easily understood and managed. Release plan. After finishing the features, the release plan analyzes and plans the release of the features with a plan date. The release plan date can go up to 3 months in duration as well. Scaled Agile. Scaled Agile is the approach that allows organizations to implement the Lean and Agile practices in their organizations. Also known as SAFe, combines the Agile teams and forms an Agile release train. Scrum of Scrums. A Scrum of Scrums is a combination of small Scrums that are part of a larger Scrum. The ambassadors of the smaller Scrums meet for the meeting and resolve any problems and give their updates. Story points. The story points are the effort that would be required from the team to finish the tasks in the project. It is quite easy to measure the story points for any given task. The simplest task in the project is taken as the base point, and based on it the other tasks are also evaluated. For example, if a task takes 1 hour to complete as 1 point, then the project that will take 4 hours to complete will have 4 points. User story. The user story is a brief description of the feature that will be useful to the customer. A typical user story is in the format I as, user, want to do something so that I can get goal. Usually, a product owner during the sprint planning creates the user stories. Work item. Any work associated with the project in an Agile environment is called a work item. A user story or any specific task can be referred to as a work item. Velocity. The velocity in any project is the measure of the average number of tasks a team can finish during an iteration. This is evaluated using the velocity charts where the number of tasks finished by the team in a sprint is calculated. Cadence. The number of days or weeks for the whole development cycle is known as cadence. Ceremonies. The meetings in an Agile environment like a daily stand-up meeting can be referred to as ceremonies in Agile. LSS. Large-scale Scrum is an Agile development methodology that follows the Agile principles and core values. RAD, Rapid Application Development, is also an Agile methodology where the development is faster by collaborating with the end users to get the requirements. Sprint Review. The sprint review is a meeting where the deliverables are presented to the stakeholders and they review the changes, bug fixes, etc. After the review, the feedback taken from the stakeholders is implemented in the next sprint. Sprint Retrospective. At the end of the sprint, the team analyzes their performance and measures their pros and cons that they will use in the next sprint to improve their performance. Sprint Goal. Sprint planning is a meeting where the teams decide which item they would take from the sprint backlog and work on the upcoming sprint. Sprint backlog: every piece of work item that would require the team's attention is present in the sprint backlog. All the tasks, user stories, user requirements are present in the sprint backlog, and they decide which item they want to work on during the sprint. With this, we have come to the end of the session. We hope everything that was covered in this session is clear to you, and if you have any questions, you can mention them in the comments section. Tell us about your journey with Agile Project Management and how you handled your projects. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to Invensis Learning, and press the bell icon to get the latest updates on Invensis Learning. We will see you in another project management session soon. Thank you.